Well, Chris just told me something interesting. Apparently, there's some new scams going around.
Afraid so.
And they are a lot worse than I thought they would
They're pretty nasty.
be. Yeah. So, we'll tell you guys how to protect yourselves and...
Just make you aware of
Well,
the
yeah,
scams,
I mean, it's
too.
just ridiculous. It's bad.
The internet is a scary place.
All right, Chris, why don't you tell our wonderful viewers who are going to subscribe, share, like this video, and use our Amazon Associates link below to help give us credit to whatever purchases they make towards Amazon, what you just told me.
Okay. So the next gen is here, as we all know, which is a good thing. But there's also, with that new platform and games and all that, comes new problems.
New people problems, not just... Anyway, go ahead.
Apparently, PlayStation, Sony's been emailing people that they're resetting their passwords because of irregular activity, and I've heard that some people believe that there is like an imminent hack threat.
Irregular activity. That's never a good
like,
sign.
Like something's coming.
Yeah,
So-
irregular activity. That's
What I was thinking for this
Not a good
episode
sign.
is now that we've kind of said that there is possible suspicious activity. What are your recommendations for how we can be safer using something that really isn't our control? We give them our credit card number, we give them our PayPal, and then we just kind of hope for the best.
Well, Chris, that's an excellent question. Now, as you know, I do host a daily show called the PCM Tech Help Show, also on this channel if you subscribe.
I have heard of it.
Yes. Now, this episode I did last week discusses things you can do to protect yourself in general on technology. But there's something you should be aware of that it's called internet privacy. You have none.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually the title of the video. But here's the problem with technology is that your information, the second you click send, submit, upload, or whatever, it's all over the world. It's stored on servers, upon backups, upon locations, upon servers, all across multiple networks and everything. It's floating around out there.
Awesome.
Okay? So you don't have any real true privacy. What you
So
have
I
is...
gave him my credit card long time ago.
It's
and
still-
then said,
it's still-
screw this, I'm going to the cards, the prepaids.
Yeah.
There's still a risk that I could lose my stuff.
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So what basically happens is you have faith that these companies are going to properly delete this information when you delete it locally.
Okay.
But when you press the delete button on your data or your password, or you reset your passwords, you hope that deletion or that modification propagates, if that's the technical term, to all of the backups and mirrored copies that they have located all over the place as well.
Whoa.
Because remember, they don't actually keep them all in the same physical location, because that
Sure.
wouldn't make sense. Because if
Yeah.
that one burns down, then
You're screwed.
they lose
Everyone's
everything,
screwed.
and their business goes out of business.
Yeah.
So it's just you got to understand that there's a lot of things going on in the background. So protecting yourself is just understanding that the best way to protect yourself is to not put, like you said, any of your information out there that can be compromised. So when you say prepaid cards, that's the way to go from the beginning. Don't use your real credit card on any service.
Okay, is there a benefit to switching if you've already done that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because you think about it, every time you use that card in a different service, that different
just
service
gets worse.
stores it somewhere else. It doesn't. I mean, I'm not saying this happens to everybody. It's just happening more and more. But what's happening is that every time you use it on a different service, it's stored somewhere else. It
Sure.
it increases your risk, and the more you do it, the more.
Okay.
So that would be one thing.
So just be on the lookout for PlayStation charges.
Don't
too.
use your credit card on your next gen console. Don't, especially if it's tied into your checking account.
Well, I think a lot of these are just from the general PSN network stuff. So it
Don't
might
do
be
it on
already on
PSN
there.
also, but I've had mine hacked twice on my Xbox Live.
Yeah.
The first time was with a check card, and then I learned that lesson.
Yeah.
And it came out of my checking account. I've had my account hacked on Steam, and people have done fraudulent charges on that. And I've had my account hacked again on Xbox with a prepaid card, and I lost my gold for 3 months.
Yeah.
So, and I use strong passwords.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
So,
He knows what he's doing.
yeah. So it's becoming worse.
Okay.
But general advice?
Yes.
Strong passwords, of course, always help, but if there's two-step authentication or two-step verification, that's the way you want to go. But unfortunately, next-gen consoles don't have those yet.
Yeah.
And what that is that if you try to log in it sends you a password on your phone.
Yeah.
And so you physically have to be there in order to log
Which is odd. To use your account from Microsoft, though, on a PC or something, you do have to do something like that. If they don't recognize your PC, you do have to do the two-step verification, but you can't really do that on Xbox.
You can't do it on the consoles because they don't want to be. It's a convenience thing.
It is. Which actually the whole thing is. It's convenience versus safety.
Right. And when you talked about this,
it's nice to be able to just hit download and get your game immediately.
Yeah, and when you talked about this, as soon as you hear about things like this in the news, just go online and change your password.
Yeah.
So if you hear like grumblings of a PS4 hack or something, or like the 2 million passwords that got hacked from Microsoft, Google, and Gmail and Facebook, you hear about these things, then just jump online. That was last week.
Yeah.
Jump online, change your password immediately. And if those services have two-step verification, enable it. I know Google does. Facebook doesn't. Twitter does.
Do you know what a fairly common password was?
Password? What?
No kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You've got to be kidding.
Just like on Spaceballs.
Somebody's watching too much Spaceballs. So that wasn't the only story, though.
No. In our last video, we talked about how to get an Xbox or PlayStation. And one of the possible last-ditch attempts that you could make was to go to eBay. But some poor sap went to eBay and bid on an Xbox that was actually reasonably priced. And not reasonably as in cheap or anything, but reasonable as in that makes sense that if you had an Xbox and were selling it on eBay, that would be your markup.
Right.
I think it was like $750.
Okay.
And
wow.
The poor guy paid $750 for a picture of an Xbox on paper.
So this is actually something that's been going on for years.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. And what this is when this occurs on eBay, eBay sees whatever transaction you create. When you bid on an item and win an item, or you click the Buy It Now button and buy it now, what'll happen is you actually become contractually obligated to that transaction, which means no takebacks. Okay, so legally, the person who sold them the photo put in the description somewhere that this was just a photo.
Yeah.
And so when he made that purchase, he actually contractually obligated himself to spend that much money on a photo of the Xbox. And that's how these people get away with this. So be very careful with the feedback system. Make sure they have plenty of feedback, not just
actually
100.
The guy did. I believe he had, well, I mean, I know he had, the guy who bid thought he had a good
history.
Now, I didn't research the guy who made the purchase.
Right.
Or the guy he bought from, so I can't say whether it was two feedback saying awesome.
That's what I mean, is you have to make sure they have a large number. We're talking above 1,000.
Yeah.
If you're making a large purchase, I mean, if you're buying something for $50 to $100, you can get away with somebody who has 50 to 100 feedback. But if you're buying something $700 like that,
$750, yeah.
$750, make sure they have like at least 1,000. Even if you have to pay an extra $20, $30.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Buy it off somebody who has an established framework of loyalty. And usually you want them to have 99 to 99.5% positive feedback, which means that 99 out of 100 transactions, people had a positive experience.
Yeah.
So that's the most obvious. And then second of all, read the descriptions and read the return policy.
Carefully.
Very carefully. Read through the whole thing. But this has been going on for years, and it happened at the last gen.
Yeah, and I do think, fortunately, I think PayPal has the guys back, but still, just watch out.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure eBay, especially since it has so much publicity.
It's still a crappy situation.
Yeah. So, what else did you have for us? And this next one is the one that actually made me angry on this intro.
Okay, this one's fun. Backwards compatibility is always an issue when it comes to these next-gen switches. You don't want your library to go away. I understand that. I absolutely understand that. But that's always an issue when it comes to these things. So apparently there's like a tutorial or something up involving backwards compatibility for the Xbox One. Every Xbox One has the ability to become a dev kit if you enter a certain code. You're not supposed to find that normally, but somebody did. And so I guess this guy walks you through how to do that with claims of it being backwards compatible, and really all it does is brick your system.
So this guy's giving tutorials with the claim that it will make all your old games work with it.
Yes.
And then once you complete the tutorial, you can never play your Xbox again.
I believe so.
It doesn't. I wonder if it voids your warranty. I would guess it does, because you probably have to flash your
It might.
You have to flash.
That I do not know.
Just like jailbreaking technically voids your warranty. You're not supposed to do it.
Okay, and what Microsoft has said is there is no way to make the Xbox One backwards compatible.
Because
by
if there
altering its
was, they
settings.
would have released it with it. Most
Attempting
likely.
to do so bricks the console. And that's their words. That's from Major Nelson.
Oh yeah, that's not.
On
Major
Twitter
Nelson
said bricked,
brick.
as in broken. As in, congratulations, you have a really expensive paperweight.
I feel bad for people who did this. It's a testimony to just how freaking horrible some people are. And this is probably a PlayStation fanboy, by the way, who did this.
It's just an image.
And this is the kind of stuff that frustrates me because
was,
just leave people alone.
Specifically, what it was an image that surfaced on the internet that claimed that you could achieve backwards compatibility by doing this, and it had steps, a series of steps that apparently these steps in which you take have a very high probability of locking it up. So this guy, his intention was to mess up your investment.
No, let me take a step back here, because this guy shouldn't have been able to even do this. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm a little peeved at Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're talking about testing hardware that people are spending that kind of investment on, it shouldn't be that easy. Somebody shouldn't be able to release an image with a few steps on it that brick your machine.
Yeah.
That shouldn't even be possible, in my opinion. It just shouldn't even be in there. It shouldn't be accessible from the consumer.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a dev, you should have to have a USB dongle or something that unlocks it, some specialty hardware, anything that lets you. You shouldn't just be able to go in through the software and destroy it this way, because that's part of the problem with user development. That's not consumer use. They shouldn't even have that kind of control.
It is a double-edged sword, because the whole big thing that has been a large focus on this next gen was how open they were to indie developers. So
which is fine.
Well, I think that's
which
what
is
this was for.
Which is fine.
I think.
But it shouldn't make it brickable. You should have a revert option.
Well, yeah,
or restore to factory defaults or something. You know what I mean? What if this happens? So anyway.
Well, I mean, people weren't supposed to really find this, but.
Well, no, I get that, but it was there.
But how many times do you have to say that on the internet? People weren't supposed to find this.
But it doesn't matter. It shouldn't have been there. There shouldn't be a way to brick your Xbox from the software.
Yeah.
There just shouldn't be there. If you do what people do with their phones and they brick their phones where you're flashing, like you're plugging it into your computer and you're flashing the ROM, okay, I could see bricking happening. I mean, you're really wiping out what data was in there to begin with and writing over the top of it. Okay, that could happen. But just because you're going through the user interface, you shouldn't be able to do it. You shouldn't be able to brick it that way. So I think this is both a douchebag on the internet and Microsoft's fault.
Yeah, but definitely do not.
This
says under no circumstances is it backwards compatibility.
And if it was, they would have done it.
So no way. So if you hear anyone claiming that there is, it is not true.
Which, Chris, that's a different topic for us, the backwards compatibility thing.
It certainly is.
And we will talk about that in a later video. But thank you guys for joining us today on the Craig and Chris Show. We are brought to you by Amazon affiliates, as I said earlier in the video. Any purchases you make through Amazon, make sure you go through us, because you will help support the show through your purchases. And
That's
also,
true.
What do they need to do, Chris?
Well, for one thing, subscribe.
Yes, absolutely. And like and share.
Share, like, love.
Love us!
We need it.
We need it. We need validation, people. Okay, and they also need to, because I keep forgetting to say this, tune into our gameplay video series that occurs 3 days a week now from 9 p.m. Eastern. It debuts Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
And it's not live, that's when the new video goes live on the internet.
Watch us walk through video games and mostly do what we don't do.
Yes.
Actually, we weren't too bad.
We were all right. I was. Unless they watched, what was it, Monday's video?
Unless they actually watched it, then they know the truth.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm going to go cry now.